Well, I just want to give Cole a huge thank you because it's very hard to get a copyright attorney to talk about copyright. Apparently, it's a very complex field, and people just don't like to talk about it. But Cole is the author of a book called Copyright Law for Video Production. He's been around PEG Media forever, very active in Portland community media for many, many years. And so I really appreciate him offering his expertise on copyright, trademark law, et cetera, to us today. So Cole, thank you.
Hi, this is what I look like, and I'm going to do a quick PowerPoint. You're welcome to take notes. And then I'm going to leave time, ask questions, interrupt me, Mary, whenever you want to. It's cool. This usually takes about 3 hours. Hang on. Can you see this?
No.
Hello? Did it work?
No, it did not.
Okay,
So
I gave you, Tom,
Sure.
I gave you permission to record. So you should be able to record now. Tom from Milwaukee, Tom Lapnow.
Yeah, I was going to, but Lisa stepped in and
Oh,
started
Lisa,
already.
okay. All right,
So-
great. Thanks, Lisa.
Deb, can you make sure that our presenter has the ability to share screen, please?
Yeah, they do.
Okay.
Okay,
Am I
so
too
way at the
stupid?
way at the bottom, you should see a green tab.
Yes,
Click that.
I did.
Huh.
Okay, hold on. Let's see.
Is it not working?
You know, we even tested this the other day and it was working fine.
Yeah, it's.
So what can you see? Just me?
Just you. Yeah.
Well, that's tragic.
Okay, so did you click on the side of it that says, let's see, advanced sharing option?
Because on my screen, Cole, I just have like a long green tab that says share screen. And if you just click that, it should just share your computer screen with everyone.
Yeah. In the bottom middle, on the bar.
I saw that.
So you see the green tab, but it's not being responsive?
That's remarkable that software is not working properly.
So once you click the share screen button once, it should bring up a pop-up window. Did it bring up a pop-up window for you that wants you to select a window?
Yeah.
Okay, and then once, did you select a window and then click share again in the bottom right-hand corner of that pop-up window?
How about now?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
see it.
Yay! All right.
Thank
now,
you. Thank you, Jason.
thank you,
Yeah.
Jason.
Yeah, not a
Expert-
problem. I just didn't
expert
want to have to look
guidance.
at Cole the whole time.
No, I don't want to look at me either. And I'm safely in my bunker in an anarchist zone. We're not being monitored. I'm in Portland, Oregon. Okay, I'm going to go through these quickly. Yell at me if you want me to stop or slow down. What I want to give you is some fundamentals of copyright. It's important to understand where the law comes from. We're going to go through what the law is, what rights you have, and then into fair use and free speech. And it's incredibly complicated and nuanced, but that's the way it is. Now, how do I change my, there we go. There's the foundation is in the Constitution itself, not in the afterthoughts, which we call the Bill of Rights. Article 3, Section 8, for you fans. This is what's mine, what's yours, and what's ours. this is being recorded so you can review this later. But what I want to make sure you understand is the stuff that you or your producers create belongs to you. And then the question about how do you protect it and prevent or allow other people to use it. And then the next question is, how do you give other people permission to use it? And then the last question is, how do you use it without permission? Either to use somebody else's work in your creative work, or as you get more as an independent producer and you're completely independent as a citizen in expressing your rights to free speech, what the hell you can do. Today we had, I'm not going to go over it. In the work that I do, I see something interesting almost every day. This is, whoa, I didn't expect that. Copyright is the same law that allows Bruce Springsteen to tell whoever thinks they're the president that they can't use his music in their campaign rallies. Copyright, and these are loosely the things that we're going to cover. It protects your work. It vests immediately upon creation, which means that if you're shooting video from your cell phone camera, you have a right to that, to own that work as soon as you create it. You have a right to your tweets. You own your Facebook posts, although you have given Facebook the right to repost it and like it and pass it around. The ownership is yours unless you have some other deal going on where it was you're done in the scope of your employment, or it's a work for hire, or you're have licensed it to somebody else upon creation. And we'll go through all that stuff in more detail in a few minutes. No no protection for ideas, and it's got to be fixed in a tangible form. But in this electronic age, tangible form is a very low bar. Talking to people about an idea, hey, let's do this, is probably the only thing that can't be protected. Once you start writing it down, even if you write it down in the sand with a stick or spray paint on a wall, you have a copyright interest in it immediately. Film and video was not part of the copyright law. Was created in 1790, and it has been typically after something is going on, then the copyright law tries to catch up. Film didn't get added to the copyright protection until 1909, just about 100 years ago. And today, copyright protects almost everything, all aspects of your film, even things that you didn't realize were going to be valuable. Although I suspect that George Lucas knew the Ewoks were going to always be valuable. A joke. In this, there was an actual case where somebody was trying to get attention and maybe a job offer on Conan O'Brien, and he directed tweets to the writing staff at Conan O'Brien. One of the jokes, or a couple of them, ended up rewritten and on the air, and they were eligible for copyright protection. He sued, he won, he got credit, he was allowed to participate in the writer's room for a short period of time, and he is rapidly forgotten except for people like me. There's a copyright freak, so I think it's all damn interesting. Work has to be created by people. This was a very famous case where this guy, can you see my little arrow? I guess I can't hear you. This was the photographer that set up a system where the macaques could kind of look at their own image in like an iPad and take pictures of themselves. This particular macaque named Naruto took essentially pictures of himself. It became a viral picture, and whenever something becomes viral, if you were listening to some of the social media stuff, it becomes very valuable. very valuable attention getting, very useful, without getting into current events, which I'm not going to talk about. Our ability to pass around video now with very limited means of production is changing this country. But in this particular case, the question was, did the macaque take the picture, or did this guy take the picture? This guy didn't handle his arguments well. He didn't call me from the jungle. And so the image of the macaque, public domain. Monkeys can't own artwork. Neither can elephants or dogs or rats or other characters that people have set up to take pictures of animals. Copyright now lasts for the lifetime of the creator, plus 70 years. In the case of, if it's done for the name of a business, it's closer to about 100 years. But my point is that you can't use somebody else's stuff without permission if it's been around for in that period of time where it's going to be protected by someone else's copyright. You can't just take it because you can find it, although it's so easy to find things now. It gets confusing, especially for completely independent video producers. And I didn't ask if any of you are producers or you're all connected at a higher end, but this is what you have to tell your production people. Be careful about what you take. This is a review of what I was just saying, that is for original works of authorship. It's got to be independently created. It's got to have some kind of creativity, but the level of creativity can be as simple as the decision to set up the camera, stand there, take the picture, happen to be at the right place at the right time. Being in focus is not even as important as people think it might be. Focus, sound quality, as long as it can be perceived and passed around, you don't know what the public is going to do with it. You have a copyright interest in it unless you give it away. The rights that you get in a copyright are the right to own it, the right to authorize reproduction, to reproduce it, to modify it and make derivative works, to distribute copies, to publicly perform it. And publicly perform it means putting it online, putting it on a website, anything that's just short of showing it just to you and to yourself is a public performance, and display it publicly. We all are working in a medium where the public performance is everything, and you want to be careful about what you're showing and how you're showing it, because you could be violating a public performance by filming somebody in front of a mural or in front of some artwork or with some sculpture or using music without permission. All of these things are public performance. Generally, what's not covered by copyright are works created by the government, although the government is starting to mess around this a little bit by allowing independent people to do work for the government under contract, and then without looking at that contract, you're not sure whether it's a work of the government because they paid for it, or whether it's licensed to a government agency, in which case the original author still owns it. And as a rule of thumb, anything older than 1925, because of that 70 years and lifetime stuff, is going to be in the public domain. Just a review of the law. The person that creates it, the work, owns the copyright. Work for hire. I just got to notice that my internet connection is unstable. I don't know what that means. If you lose me, that's what happened. I've been wiped out. You have to be careful with the words work for hire or work made for hire, because that will shift the ownership of whatever it is that you want to use to somebody else. If you're creating work as a work for hire and somebody uses that term when they're hiring you. So if they hire you or pay you as a photographer or contract with you as a photographer or a filmmaker, and they call it a work for hire, you don't own the footage anymore. The person that paid you owns the footage, and they don't have to pay you much. Read your employment agreement. Now, you have a copyright as soon as the work is created, and you can't see my hands, so I guess stop waving them around. As soon as the work is in some form where it can be passed around, you get a copyright. The trick next is, how do you protect that copyright and make it something that is enforceable? You do that with copyright registration. This is how you register a copyright. If you notice that you have done something that is valuable, if you're doing a show, or you've caught something on film before you put it out there, it's worthwhile to register the copyright, because you get some bonuses for a registration. Oops. There we go. If you have registered your copyright, you get the legal presumption that it belongs to you. Where this is going to be very useful now, and this has been true, mostly evolved in the last decade, is when you see your work in a place where you don't want it to be, you can, if you can prove that the work is yours and you have a copyright, YouTube will take it down, Instagram will take it down. You can interrupt somebody else's flow by the source that is distributing the footage. You might, as vector points for the distribution of film and video, you might get takedown notices, and I don't know how this works, whether you're getting those or not, whether somebody asks you to take something off the site, or if you're asked to get involved in that. It didn't occur to me and just till now when I'm speaking about it, but this is definitely a power that YouTube has, and Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. Any of these places that distribute media they need to have a registered agent registered with the Copyright Office, and then you can directly ask them to take down work that is being distributed through them. And it works pretty instantly. Once you file a takedown notice, a company will typically take it down within 24 or 48 hours, and then give the person that posted it the opportunity to file a counter notice. I didn't get into that at all because it's just a little bit more complicated. You give people permission to use your work. It's called a license. You can grant the license orally. Where this is important would be if you're going to film an event where there is music. You can, when you have your camera going, ask the band, hey, I want to include this in my video. Do I have your permission to include the band and you and your song in my video? And that license is good enough. Although technically it's no longer an oral license. Once it's on your film, it becomes in a different tangible medium. So it's completely enforceable. A better way to do it would be to have them sign something. People have carried pads of releases, more complicated release forms when you're involved in a big, more of a production. Sometimes the production assistants will run around with release forms for your image or your performance or whatever it is going on in the background. That is a fine line between incidental, that you just happen to be there, and having your camera focus on a song for even a whole minute or so. That's something that might need clearance. The balance of copyright is the monopoly ownership interests, where we want the people that create stuff to be able to profit from. At the core of the copyright law is we want creative people to continue to make more stuff and that we all can enjoy and share and pass around. And then on the other side is that balance of the social value of passing things around and sharing it. It's part of the copyright law to include here, on one hand, you have the rights of the creators of the work, the authors, and on the other hand, there's social benefit in passing things around. Here's some, all of these are from, I guess I can't see whether, the one with the eyeballs, that is a graffiti art done by a guy named, he knew he was going to get involved in a lawsuit. He calls himself A-Hole Sniffs Glue. And he posted this stuff on a wall in Miami. And American Eagle decided it looked really cool. And they used it to rebrand their whole store and do videos for television advertising. And they didn't ask him. So somewhere out there in law land is a case, A-Hole Sniffs Glue v. American Eagle. You want to think about posterity when you're going to sue somebody. And A-Hole won money. The woman in the dress, this was a graffiti that was turned into a dress. One of these dresses was used in a, worn by a Hollywood, I don't know, big shot actress. In that video, that was the company that put out the, I think it was Massimo, made the clothing, and they were sued. The graffiti on a wall, that was used by Mercedes-Benz. And the idea that just ordinary, cool, edgy people can own a $60,000 car, and isn't that groovy? And they were paid a settlement. The last one was from another case, but it's, my point is that you want to be careful about how you're using this work, and if you're using it commercially to attract some attention, you want to ask permission. That's not true in all cases, because as we get to fair use, here's my point here is with stuff that's in the public domain, you, all creators of material, are allowed to look into the public domain, common stories, things that are available for everybody. And one of the things that Mickey is really good at is Mickey finds really delicious things in the public domain and then rewrites them, and it becomes a Disney product. A lot of the big Disney movies are based on folk tales and old historic things that are passed on in the culture of a community, and then Disney takes it over, and their particular interpretation becomes theirs. My point of this is, if you go back to the original material and you encourage people, go back to the original stuff, and that's what people can own. There is, on the other side of public domain, there is things that are allowed under fair use, and fair use is for news reporting, parody, satire, commentary, scholarly work, literary criticism. All of these are more like a First Amendment use, that you're allowed to take stuff that you can find in various places, and if it fits into these areas, then the use is going to be fair. It's a balance. The free exchange of ideas, free expression is balanced against the monopoly right of owners. Yeah, I don't need to dwell on this. This is a quote, just a full legal analysis, because I know people will be looking at this slideshow later on and they'll have time to read through all this stuff. The goal is, people, to look into what we've created and be inspired by it and create more stuff. What's generally looked at is when you're applying whether the use is fair, is, how is it used? Is it a reference? Is it a feature? Is your use in your new production, is it very minimal? If a question comes up frequently is, I was recording a parade, of a children's parade, an event that celebrates this whole town thing. A band goes by and they play a version of Louie Louie. Is that, do I have to worry about it? Do I have to edit that out? How many seconds is permitted? If it's just a de minimis use, if it's in the background, if your camera fleets past something and you see some image, it could be the Disney store, it could be an ad for a movie. If it's an important part, a pivot part of your film, then you want to be a little bit more careful. But if it's just incidental, if it's minimal use, that's fine. If you're transforming the original purpose of whatever that art is that you're using, if you're using it in a way that is critical of it, or it is you're making this ironic point, I don't want to get into any specifics, but if you have some, we're happy to talk about them. That goes into the consideration. And I put all this stuff in here because the best way to prepare a defense, if you're concerned about, gee, what happens if I put this video out there and then somebody says, well, this. If you think about these points and say, it's only in there for reference, it's a very de minimis use. It's in my film to make a critical commentary about the juxtaposition of this art and the events that are going on in front of me and part of my film. Those uses are more likely to be fair. If you sound like you know what you're talking about, or if you do know what you're talking about, in my experience, you're not going to be challenged, or the challenge is going to be very minimal. Again, it's a balance of the individual rights against the public balance, public value. And these are the four considerations right from the copyright law. Who are you? How are you using it? How much have you taken? And what's the effect on the market for the original? I realize I don't want to run out of time. And this is here just to illustrate this point, that you want to be transformative and not just copy it. Well, next question is what you're doing commentary? And this is a real case where the boys from South Park decide, this video here was very popular when this case came out. It was, I forget this guy's name, this character, but he made this video where the lyrics were, I apologize if anyone's disturbed by it, but it was a fact. The lyrics were what in the butt? And he did this dance. This is his character. The boys, wanting to become famous, wanted to create a viral video, so they copied. They had Butters do the same dance, exactly the same, similar costumes, as you can see, similar setting, and they sang the same song, what in the butt. And the case was Brown Mark v. Comedy Partners. You just knew with a name case like that it was going to be entertaining. And the court ultimately decided that that was perfectly good, fair use. Their point was making fun of somebody that will do anything to create a viral video. Here's another case, and this one involved a Prince song. I think it's Let's Go Get Crazy or Let's Go Crazy. Mom filmed this little guy dancing around in his walker to the song Let's Go Crazy. posted it on YouTube. YouTube took it down and saying that it interfered with the copyright of the Prince song. She said, no, it's just my kid dancing to the song. It's got nothing to do with Prince. He was just being cute. This has happened in the Bay Area where the Electronic Frontier Foundation was. Let's just say the lawyers jumped in saying, that's a really interesting question. Here's the music was on in the background. The point of it is that this little kid was cute. The problem that happened was this video got to be very popular. Millions and millions of views. Probably in my career, I've dealt with 4 or 5 viral videos. And the best way to ride a viral video is to own, there's no way you're going to get the genie back in the bottle. And how are you going to turn the fact that you've created a video that millions of people want to see? Own it. Don't deny it, and then start looking for a way to craft your fair use argument. In this particular case, the lawyers that ended up representing this kid and the mom got $5 or $6 million in attorney's fees from YouTube because they did not consider fair use when they took it down. There is no way anyone is going to say, well, I got this 30 seconds of this kid dancing to this song, so I don't need to buy any more Prince music. It's over. Fair use is an important thing. Last fair use tale. You can look this one up. This is a video that's put out by the Media Education Foundation. It samples from probably 5 or 6 different Disney movies to talk about what the heck fair use is. It's very informative and very much in your face to Mickey, and it's been around for years. YouTube put out this videos about Copyright School, and then there is a response to Copyright School called a response to Copyright School. In the YouTube version, don't copy anything for any reason because you can get sued. And then in the response saying, no, you have an absolute right to use stuff that you find. You just want to be careful about how you do it and craft the world belonging to the inspired thief. You only take what you need, only take so much. Don't take more than you need, and be thoughtful in what it is you're taking from somebody else, and whether you're using it without permission or with permission. That's kind of where it is. Any questions? I know I just kind of rammed through this. Are you still okay with me? Did you
Yeah.
let me know?
We had a question here in the chat bar.
Oh.
So, okay.
I should. Yeah, I can hear you fine. I just didn't see the chat bar.
Oh, yeah, that's okay. So obviously our members shoot government meetings. So we are a government entity, with a government product. And sometimes, like, let's say local affiliates will use parts of the footage of government meetings without crediting our stations who actually produced it, but they're using it for news reasons. So in that case, since we're government and they're a news organization, can they just take snippets of our meetings and that's a fair use?
Do you have and I know that I'm going to talk about this in the next hour a little bit more. Do you have a posted policy about news? There are a couple of answers. My first quick knee-jerk answer is, of course. You're there recording the entire meeting. To some degree, your job is to put this stuff out there. so everybody can see it. They don't have to show up in the council chambers, especially now. They probably can't go to council chambers and show up, at least not here. So you're putting this stuff out there so the community can see it. So it's a real service to the community that the news people can come to you and get a copy of it. You should have, it would be useful to have posted rules to the news people and say, please, give us credit. Do you put a bug on your, I don't know if it's still called a bug?
Well, in the one case that I'm thinking of, Wausau had a problem with this, and the news media actually like enveloped it or whatever, cut it so that the bug was taken out.
So it made it look like they had their reporter in there.
Right.
Well, that's just is that assholes, especially if they did something that was particularly valuable that you should get credit for. You in the grand sense that, and I've been involved with since it was called public access. Do you still call it public access? Yeah. That this service that y'all are providing to the larger community is so important. Without you, even though you get paid to put this stuff out there, it wouldn't exist. It would disappear. They would not have that footage, and it would not be able to be seen by people in your community and people around the whole country and people around the world. It would not be there but for you. So it's too bad that they decide to cut your bug out. I don't know whether there's the technology available to float the bug, so it's harder to cut it out, or in between harder and impossible.
Is it legal for them to do that though? I think Tom's initial question was, are our videos open to being used for soundbite purposes by whoever sees fit, whether it be a for-profit news corporation or a community newsletter? And then I guess then if the answer to that is yes, are they then allowed to alter our content in a way that would chop out any branding that we have on the screen?
That was a couple of good questions. It's news. So are they allowed to share the news that you make available to everybody for free? I would say it would be hard for you to say no, that they can't take it. If you put it out there and you don't put any restrictions on their ability to pass it around, and to some degree you've put it out with an open license. Now, the next question is, do they have a right to take your brand off of it? If you put do you put your stuff out under a copyright license situation, or do any of you use like a Creative Commons license? And the Creative Commons license says you're free to take my footage or take whatever it is I'm putting out there. I own the copyright in it, but you're free to take it and not alter it, and to keep my name on it and not charge anything more. That I just am thinking about that right now. I don't know how that case would turn out.
As for instance, in Oshkosh, we do throw up a copyright slate after content we produce. Our logo is trademarked. I know that doesn't necessarily make a difference, but I mean, if we announce at the end of a production that content is copyrighted, would that then mean that them altering it in any way is technically not legal?
Well, technically it's a violation of the your copyright, and then what are you going to do about it? Copyright is civil.
Most of the time, I would say that we probably wouldn't take action, but in the case where somebody's abusing it, like the case that Mary's talking about, I think at that point, then it would be good for the center to have some kind of recourse.
Do you send serious letters to the local companies?
Emails. Yeah, we have email communication. I know we have to go to Mary. I'm sorry for holding this up.
Oh,
No, I mean, we're going to close in 91 seconds.
oh
Okay.
dear. Not sure, you're in Oshkosh.
Right.
I can see that. I would say that you should probably look at how your arrangement with the local television companies and send them a real letter. And they probably if they consider you a source kind of on their team, then this is all like local politics. They should give you the respect that you deserve, at least to thank you somewhere.
And I would say in Oshkosh, we don't often have the issue. I mean, we have reporters who show up to our council meetings, and when the local newspapers use our stuff or link to us, generally we are given some kind of credit or some kind of courtesy. But it's just good to know what the rules are in case someone, if there is one bad actor who starts to just take clips of our council meetings, scale the videos up so none of our branding is on there, and then just use it at will without really contacting us and asking